Hey, what's up you guys, it's me Luke and welcome back to another video, or if you're new here, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I post commentary and critique and reaction videos on basically anything on the internet that interests me, ranging from pop culture to internet culture and anything in between. Alrighty guys, so I'm not really sure when I'm posting this video, like if I'm posting the video that I filmed yesterday before this one, but I just wanted to go ahead and do a bit of housekeeping, give you a few updates. So not that big of a deal, but yes, I got a haircut. I no longer have my long hair. Some people may be upset by that because I know a lot of people were upset when I posted on Instagram, but at the end of the day, it's just hair and I just wanted to change it up. So that's what I did. Also, sorry I've been super MIA on YouTube. Life has been hectic at the moment. I was working kind of a job for a little bit that was, off of YouTube. So I was like, spending some of my time there. And then also I recently moved, so I've been moving. So life has just been so stressful and I just haven't been able to post as often as I would have liked. So I'm really sorry about that. I didn't mean to abandon you guys, but I'm back, hopefully a bit more consistently. Another update in my life is I got a cat. I got a little kitty. This is Percival Perseverance. He does not want to be held right now. But yeah, I got a kitty. I love him so much. One of the best decisions I made. It was a little bit impulsive. I mean, no, I've wanted a cat for a while. Anyway, guys, enough about that. Let's get into what today's video is about, which is the most recent Frenemies episode, and Frenemies potentially being over and Trisha Paytas having quit Frenemies. Whew, that was a mouthful. But without further ado, let's get into it because I'm about to dive in to the drama. Let's get it. So we're going to be discussing the latest Frenemies episode / reacting to the end portion of it when Trisha and Ethan have this fight that results in the demise of Frenemies. And then we're going to go ahead and talk about Trisha and Ethan's response because Trisha, of course, in Trisha fashion, has made a few videos about it and Ethan has made a few tweets. And we're just going to discuss the demise of Frenemies. I'm honestly really gutted about it and I think this may be the official end of it. So let's just get into it. So first of all, it starts off with Trisha Paytas talking about Brokeback Mountain, which if you don't know what that is, it is a movie about a gay love story between characters played by Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal. Back in 2004, the movie was filmed and it's set in the 60s. So obviously back then, being gay was not accepted. And obviously because society was against them, they were married to women. It was really, really sad, heartbreaking story. And one of them eventually, spoiler alert, at the end dies by getting beaten to death. This is what they said in their video. They wanted to talk about trans rights and gay rights and talk about how gay and trans people are still being abused to this day. It's Pride Month and everything, so I'm sure that's why they wanted to talk about it and do that little segment. They said in their video they wanted to talk about, gay and trans people, and Ethan just cuts them off. They're talking about it. They're talking about Brokeback Mountain and they go on to talk about how it's still happening today. And then Ethan cuts them off when he just wants to talk about the pizza that they have that's arrived.
People are still like that. Like trans people are getting beat in their face to death.
No, I'm so over that shit.
And so watching it, I was just like, holy shit. And Heath Ledger, Jake Gyllenhaal said Heath Ledger refused to make gay jokes about it during the Oscars. And I don't know.
Is there a third pizza?
You're so not good about this. Okay, let's go to your stupid.
Make sure that
now this frustrated me because Trisha's trying to talk about a really important topic and Ethan just cuts for something so trivial like a piece of pizza. I don't know if Ethan really meant to do that or if he didn't realize that Trisha was talking about something so serious, but he does this a lot throughout the Frenemies episodes is he cuts Trisha off when Trisha wants to go on a certain topic or a certain segment. He very much likes to be in control of everything. He likes everything to go his way. He wants to talk about the segments he wants to talk about. It's pretty much the Ethan show with Trisha on the side. He treats Trisha, like he says, like the talent and not like a co-host, which is what Trisha wants to be treated like. It's weird because it's gotten so popular, yes, because of Ethan and Trisha, but Trisha has brought a lot of the audience in. If you look at the channel, the Frenemies podcast gets almost 4 million views, whereas the H3 podcast, the regular ones without Trisha, gets around 1 million views. And the channel has boosted and grown so much since Trisha has come along. So Trisha has really, really helped the H3 channel. And we'll get into that, but let's just listen to what they have to say.
I don't like this segment. Just for the record, fan advice is a stupid segment.
Why?
And then they go ahead and talk about this new segment that we later find out in Trisha's video, one of the new employees of the H3 channel came up with was that they were going to do fan advice or answer fan questions. Now Trisha basically slams on this idea. They roast it. They say that it's a stupid idea when, I personally think that it's a good idea. Why not hear from your fans and hear what they have to say and give them advice? Emma Chamberlain does advice on her podcast and I really enjoy that. I really like connecting with influencers and, the influencers connecting with their audience. And I think that Trisha calling it a stupid idea is just a little bit ungrateful and hypocritical when just last week they were talking about Rylan Adams being ungrateful for his fans. Now, if you don't know, because I haven't really mentioned it on my channel, Rylan Adams on his podcast with Lizzie called The Sip basically was complaining because he was saying that the audience was, being really, really nasty towards him by saying, oh, finally a podcast episode instead of a long vlog, because his podcast episodes aren't very long and he finally posted one over an hour. And Lizzie was saying, they're not saying that, they're just grateful to have more content from you. You're the one who's putting the tone there and making it a negative tone. And he's like, no, they're the ones who are putting it by implying it with their words. And it was just like a whole thing where he's just being super ungrateful for his fans. And it was just like he even put on a mocking voice. But yeah, pretty much that's what happened. And I feel like Trisha coming for Rylan then and then now doing this, it just comes across as a bit hypocritical, because how would the fans feel about this? That Trisha thinks it's stupid to give us advice and listen to what we have to say and interact with us. I don't think that Trisha really thought that through and that they really should have, because it just comes across as ungrateful and hypocritical.
Do it. It's so dumb. What's the point?
To give advice to our fans.
But that's not that's like when people run out of ideas and they start doing Q&As. Like Tyler Oakley ran ideas, so it's like, we're gonna do Q&As now because we have nothing else to talk about. Okay, go ahead.
I mean, I kind of get what they're saying here when, it could be considered lazy content to just do Q&As or giving advice and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you didn't have to go ahead and completely shit on the entire idea.
Like 10 years ago?
It's like a lazy podcast. Like, we're going to play games on that,
A lazy podcast. You don't do anything for it. You just show up. We do all the work.
Oh my God, yeah, right.
Okay, so this is when it gets really heated because Ethan obviously says that he does all the work and Trisha just shows up. Now in Trisha's video, they say that they want to contribute. They come up with all these ideas and Ethan kind of shuts them down.
I saw in this, you had stuff from last H3. You just recycle H3 content on Frenemies.
Then they get into this argument about who comes up with what segments, and Trisha basically accuses Ethan of recycling content from the regular H3 podcast and bringing it onto Frenemies, which they definitely have done. There's definitely been times where they speak about, like, for example, the James Charles drama on the H3 podcast, and then they speak about it again on the Frenemies podcast. And Trisha's saying that, they're trying to come up with new segments. They can just come up with them off their head. And the reason they're trying to steer the conversation in different directions is because they can see on Ethan's computer that he is wanting to do a segment about Trisha memes through the history when they've already done that before on the H3 podcast. So I understand where Trisha's coming from in the sense where they're just kind of frustrated because their segments that they're coming up with or their ideas are not being used for the H3 podcast, whereas H3, instead of using them, is just recycling content. Something else that I need to mention is in Trisha's video that they posted before the Frenemies episode came out, but after this was filmed, I know the timeline's a little confusing, they mentioned that Ethan said that the crew was really upset with Trisha for Trisha insulting that segment because one of the newest crew members is the one who came up with that segment. And then the crew didn't want to film with Trisha for the vlog that Frenemies had planned to film the next day because they were upset with her. Now, I do understand this, but on the other hand, I'm also kind of like, yeah, but isn't it your job to film with her? Like, who cares if you're upset with her? Like, just film with her anyway. But I guess maybe Ethan just takes his crew's feelings into consideration, which I think is nice. Don't get me wrong, but also it's their job. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. That part was
That's crazy.
Sometimes I forget what I've talked about, honestly.
But you're saying you have all this crew that does all this work for you and nobody could remember that you talked about that 2 days prior?
I agree. Somebody should have said something.
Something else to note is Trisha was saying, you're talking about how you have all this crew, and they were saying that, none of your crew members could have told you that you'd spoken about this before and that you were repeating a segment. And Ethan, he couldn't even argue that. He had to agree with them.
But I feel like you're so angry about this.
I'm literally not, but it's so funny.
Are.
I'm not. I'm angry when you say something.
You need to admit when you're angry.
Ethan, I promise you, this is really is gaslighting. I go to a lot of therapy right now, and this really is. When I say I'm not angry, I'm not. I'm like just trying to tell you that you're like, oh, we do everything for the show, and I'm like saying it's not always good. I'm not angry. If I was angry, I would like leave or something, but I'm not. But you telling me I'm angry
or something. You're not upset or angry.
Okay. Then Trisha says that Ethan is gaslighting them because Ethan is trying to tell Trisha that they're angry. He repeats it not once, not twice, but 3 times. Says, you're angry, you need to admit when you're angry. And Trisha's like, Ethan, nah. You're not going to tell me how I feel, which I'm going to have to be on Trisha's side with this one. You don't get to tell people how they feel. Maybe in your eyes they're angry, but I don't think that in Trisha's mind that they're angry. They're just trying to explain themselves because they probably feel like they're shut down a lot by Ethan because Ethan is this big money man who's always in control of everything. That's how the show is run. Whereas when Trisha speaks about it, they say, I wanted the show, I would have liked for the show to be on my channel so that I could build up my channel and I can, use I can have a crew, I can have a producer, I can hire cameramen. I'm capable of doing this. I can hire, all these people. I can create a set. I do all of this with my music videos, with my previous podcast, which yes, was not as successful. But no, it's on the H3 channel, which, is fine. They accept that. But why couldn't it have been 50-50? And we have this whole argument of the 50-50 thing. And Ethan says later on when they speak about the money, that, which first of all, it's just, I'm not going to play it for you because it just gets messy, but you can watch it yourself. But it just is like, it's kind of not fun for us to watch. Like, I feel like this should have been a conversation that they maybe had off camera, like talking about money. We're basically just watching two ridiculously rich people complain about money and how much money they're getting. And it just sounds very greedy to me. And also, I'm going to have to side with Trisha in the fact that I think it should be 50-50. Yes, it's the H3 channel, but hear me out. So Trisha and Ethan get 50-50 of the revenue from the H3. Okay. So Trisha and Ethan get 50-50 of the revenue from the Frenemies podcast, like the main podcast, after they cut out 5% for production costs. So that's like for the set, the camera, the crew's payments, all that kind of stuff. And then Ethan gets 100% of the highlights. So he posts highlights from the Frenemies podcast on a separate channel, and he gets all the revenue from that. And then apparently he also gets all the revenue from the members, where people pay to see the Frenemies and other H3 episodes first. Trisha did say that there was debate of them getting a third of it, but they didn't really clarify whether or not they were getting that. So Ethan is getting arguably way more money for the Frenemies show, and I think his argument is, oh, well, I put in the work, I bring in the crew, I bring in the production, but you've already cut the 5% for the crew and the production. So once you've cut the 5%, everything else should be split evenly, and your ideas should be put in evenly. You should be putting in the even amount of work because you're co-hosts. But he doesn't treat Trisha like a co-host. He treats Trisha like a talent that he's brought onto the show, when Trisha wants to be treated like an equal co-host. That's the problem in and of itself. Oh, okay, sorry, I misheard. So apparently all of the highlights and 5% of Frenemies goes to production costs. That's news to me because I could have sworn in previous episodes they discussed how Ethan got the money from the highlights. But apparently now they're using all the highlights. Surely their production costs aren't that much. Because the money that they make from the production, the money that they make from the highlights, Trisha estimated was 50 to 80K a month. They would make money from the highlights from the other shows. I don't know, maybe he's just paying his employees really, really well. Who knows? Maybe that is true.
I'm pointing out these things because I would like to know. I just want everything to be a lot more transparent because I'm like, what are the production costs?
I can't be more transparent.
Can you show me all the costs of production
It's not like an itemized thing. We are doing the show. That's the cost.
So you don't think 5% is like enough for the producing the show?
5% and the highlights was what we agreed to at the beginning, and that's what it is.
Oh my God. Okay, if you think that's what it's worth, okay.
It's worth more than that, to be honest with you. You're getting a very generous deal.
Okay, so I might have misspoken. I think that what Ethan is saying is that all of the highlight revenue and 5% of the Frenemies revenue goes to production costs. But Trisha's argument is 5% of the revenue from Frenemies should be enough. But we would have to see exact numbers for that, and that's not really any of our business. I mean, none of this is really, this should have all been talking about off camera. But they're arguing about money, and I understand where both of them are coming from because Trisha wants to be treated equally, but then Ethan also is the one producing the show, so he needs to pay his employees and cover the costs of the show and all that kind of stuff. But what they're saying is that they just want transparency. And then Ethan says that Trisha gets 50% of all the members. So members who pay to watch Frenemies early, Trisha gets 50% of that. So I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm torn. You guys tell me what you think in the comments down below. Do you think that the deal between Ethan and Trisha is fair, or do you think it's not fair? Are you on Ethan's side? Are you on Trisha's side? Are you freaking Switzerland? I don't know, you tell me. I'm kind of Switzerland at this point. I'm annoyed that Ethan cut off Trisha when Trisha was trying to talk about gay and trans rights. I don't think he meant it in a malicious way. I really, really don't. I think he was just distracted and was, going off in a different direction. And I'm also kind of annoyed at Trisha for being ungrateful for the fans. I don't think they meant to be ungrateful either. I don't see it that way. But I think neither of them meant to be what they came across as. You know what I'm trying to say? But at the end of the day, this conversation shouldn't have happened online, and I think that's a problem with a lot of the Frenemies stuff, is they have these conversations online that are just inappropriate.
And now we have tons of sponsors every episode, because it takes time, obviously, to get the show up and pitching, and you get 50% of all of that.
They then also speak about the sponsorships and how they're arguing about, Ethan saying we bring in all the sponsorships, and then Trisha says, yeah, but I brought in all the sponsorships when it came to the first 20 episodes of Frenemies. We did sponsors with Adam and Eve, which I'm the one who brought that in. But Ethan's saying, yes, but we bring in the sponsors now, tons of different ones, and you get 50% of that. So I do think Trisha's deal is fair. When I really think about it, I just think they want more transparency when it comes to the production cost. I think what they should have done is just made a completely separate channel for Frenemies and put equal amounts of money into it and just made everything equal. I think that's how they could, make this show a success and continue doing it. But I don't think Ethan's willing to do that, because he even spoke about the fact that when they had a reality show pitched to them for Ethan and Trisha, he denied it because he wants to have creative control and creative freedom over everything. He's too controlling to let Trisha have equal say in everything when it comes to having a show. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the entire situation. If you guys want to leave your thoughts down below, I would love to hear them. And if you would like to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, I would greatly appreciate that. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on the post notifications bell so that you never miss another upload from me. And if you've not already, all my social media is linked down below if you'd like to go ahead and follow me, as well as a link to my second channel, my merch, my podcast, and my cameo. Alrighty guys, that's it for me in this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see my next one. And as always, I hope that you have a great day or night wherever you're in the world. Bye.